Hi, this is Nick and Olivia from Raw, and we're delighted to be joined by Geoff and Theo from Wolf Alice. Hey guys.
Hello mate.
Hello. Wanted to start by asking you about the new album. Obviously Visions of Alive comes out at the end of September. What can we expect from it?
It is probably one of the greatest albums to come out in the next 20 years and the last 20 years. So the only way to find out is to buy it on the 29th of September. And or stream it or steal it, do whatever you want. Just listen to it.
It took a lot shorter to actually make and record this album than the first one, My Love Is Cool. Why was that?
Well, the first one, we had to get a record deal. We had to make sure people had ever heard us. We had to tour the country for about 3 years. We had to become a band, essentially. The first one was us finding our feet, doing everything that you have to do to become a band. In fact, in terms of actual recording, it took longer to record this album than it did the last one. We had 8 weeks to record the first one, and we had about 3 months to record this one. But it's very different kettle of fish. Now we're in a position where we have people who have listened to Wolf Alice. Some people like us, so now we've got a way to write an album. It's not like it's not the same process as becoming a band. We were doing that at the same time as trying to figure out how to make an album the first time around.
And out of the 3 singles you've released so far, they're all such different vibes. Yuck Foo's very kind of fun and crazy. Is it a very kind of varied album? Do the singles kind of reflect that?
I think the singles are some of the most polarising songs on there, really, in terms of the extreme nature of kind of what they are stylistically. And I think hearing them within the context of the album should make a lot more sense. But yeah, they are a bit bonkers. Yeah.
Was that something you did on purpose to put those singles out, the ones that were more, as you said, polarising?
Not really. I think we just wanted to put out what we kind of liked, really. Just to go with it. And we were really vibed, Yuck Foo, it was the first song that we really vibed off in the studio and that we wanted to get playing. So it just felt like a natural thing to just push out. Yeah.
So I also ask about the music videos as well, because Yuck Foo is very sort of grungy looking, kind of grimy, really ferocious, and then the kind of most recent one, Don't Delete the Kisses, is very sweet, it's on the underground. Do you have an overall visual idea for the album, or does it just kind of depend on the song?
I don't feel we don't necessarily have one aesthetic that ties ourselves together, and it kind of mirrors the way that we write songs as well. Our approach to songwriting is that we do whatever's best by that song and what's going to make it that most appropriate incarnation. It's kind of with the same thing with that. With the Yuck Foo video, we wanted to make something as aggressive and visceral as possible and grimy and minging, and then Don't Delete the Kisses is quite a tender song, so to reflect it visually is what we wanted to do. So yeah.
Obviously your first album was Mercury Prize nominated, Mona Lisa Smile was also Grammy nominated as well. Did you feel a bit of pressure going into the studio trying to follow the success of the first album?
The only pressure was kind of in satisfying ourselves, and I think we would have felt the pressure if we felt like we weren't satisfying ourselves within the writing process and recording process. The only kind of gauge we have is if we like the songs, and we kind of will hope that if we like them, that other people will like them as well.
No, I agree. This very much came from us, the pressure of fulfilling our own expectations on how much better we can do. The external facets, we luckily just block them out, and then when we're happy with it, hopefully that's a good representation of us.
This is the last date that you're doing this kind of small tour of UK venues. Why did you decide to do this tour, and why do you think that independent venues are so important?
Well, independent venues are important because without them, all types of music don't necessarily have a direct lifeline into the touring circuit or the live circuit or anything. They're the foundation of where we cut our teeth as a band. So without them, we'll just be one big grey O2 Academy everywhere, and that's not that fun, is it? It's not very characterful. I know that this place has been threatened with closure quite a lot, and a lot of the other venues that we played on the tour have too. And everyone seems to be hanging on and really cool creative places to visit, so that's been amazing. Also, we just wanted to go back to, I think, playing very intimate shows where we can see how people react to songs, and to come back, it would be quite strange to come back and do very grandiose big venues. I think it's good for us.
This is probably quite a hard question, but do you have a favourite place to play? I mean, obviously they're going to be really different. I guess the States is probably very different to here. Do you have any highlights?
I mean, every gig will surprise you in one way or another, be that good or bad. Usually, fingers crossed, touch wood, good. I mean, like, you have your stereotypical places. The kids in Birmingham are always pretty crazy. Guys up in Scotland, they're always a good laugh. The London one's usually quite an event. I couldn't put my finger on one place that I think is the best to play, other than the Guildford Boiler Room, and maybe Warwick one day, I'm sure. But
Is Giant Peach still your favourite song to play live? Or is it something from the new album now?
One now is Visions of a Life.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Which is
if we
get through it. It's very hard to play without playing it up at least once. Sorry for swearing. It holds a similar atmosphere to Giant Peach in certain respects as well, so maybe that informs it a bit.
Excited to hear that.
I keep telling people not to film it, but slowly I keep seeing live videos creeping on the internet now. So please don't use this as a recorder.
On a similar note, you said you're now playing sort of bigger venues. 2-3 years ago, I remember seeing you guys in 2015 at Reading Fest was the first time I caught you guys, and that was really the summer where Wolf Alice shot to fame. Since then, obviously, you've had really great success. What bands or artists do you see currently in a similar position to what you were in?
We've got a band supporting us tonight. We've had this whole Vinyl Staircase, who I've seen a bunch of times. They're a band who are doing really good things. Phil Taggart just spun one of their tunes like a couple months back. They're a good one that are doing really good things for guitar music as well. It's very psychedelic and very accomplished at the same time, and they're super young.
Ladybird were good the other day. Yeah, supporting us down in Tunbridge Wells. They're fun. They had probably one of the best drummers I've ever seen. I think I would actually say that. Yeah.
Tell you what, there's a great band called there's a thing called 404 Guild coming out of South London at the moment, and they've got Bathwater, who's one of the producers on that, has just dropped 2 tracks called Cold. Really good. I think they're going to be an amazing live feat of humanity soon.
Bonkers.
Yeah, pretty good.
Just quickly wanted to ask about Michael Winterbottom's film On the Road. How did that all come about?
A boring story, really. He, much like the film, he approached us because our manager, he knew Ash and wanted to do something similar to this premise with them, and we had lunch with him, and he gave this idea of our tour being a backdrop to this narrative that develops between these 2 characters who are placed on our tour, and we found that an interesting concept. Don't think it's been explored too much. And it's kind of that marriage of fiction and also documentary. I think like 20,000 Days on Earth, that Nick Cave thing, is kind of like blurs the line between fiction and documentary.
It must have been quite cool as well, so early on in your career, to be in a film like the main backdrop, as you say. Like, that's pretty cool.
It is interesting because the idea was that we were extras in it, but it didn't really turn out that way. So yeah.
In the past 12 months, you've been pretty outspoken about politics, about the last general election, the refugee crisis. Do you feel you have some sort of duty as a band to be so outspoken and involved with politics?
I don't think as a platform, I think everyone is kind of woken up a little bit. I think just people on an individual level have kind of picked themselves up a little bit more, especially the left. It feels like the left has been a lot more mobilised than it has been in a very long time. If it takes things like Brexit and Donald Trump to make the left get up and take responsibility for what I would class as bad things happening, then I see it as a personal one.
It's still an absolute feat to see a truly socialist politician's name being chanted amongst a bunch of kids who are going to gigs, It's nuts. I never thought I'd see JME tweeting about Nick Labour MP, but I have, so,
Joff, I wanted to mention this because you've had quite an exciting week yourself, being nominated as one of the 50 hottest people to come from Plymouth. Any thoughts on that one?
It was a real big moment for me. It's something I'd always dreamed about, and to get the email from me mum telling me that I'd got that was really something. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for joining us, and have a great gig tonight. Can't wait to hear the album.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, guys.